Welcome back to Designsmith. In this video, I'm going to show you how to do this really cool text effect that utilizes brushes in Illustrator and then finishing the effects up in Photoshop. Before we get started, please subscribe to support the channel. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is lay down our type, and I'm going to use Astrobrite for this because Astrobrite is awesome, and they still haven't released their album that they said they were going to release last year. But that's totally fine with me. I'm just waiting. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and clean up the kerning on this a little bit. Alright, so the first thing we need to do is select this and go up to Type and create outlines. And remember that what we're doing is creating a brush out of this. So we need to create a little bit of extra space after this text so that there is spacing between the words themselves. So I'm going to hit M on my keyboard to activate the rectangle tool. And I'm just going to draw a rectangle that's probably about this wide. It doesn't have to be exact, but just to be on the safe side, I will make it exactly 1/4 inch. Now let's just bring it down here. It doesn't really matter what the height of it is. All that matters is the width. I say that as I'm making the height specific. All right, and now we're going to come over here to our fill and stroke, and we're just going to click on no fill. So now I'm going to select both of these and group them together, and we're going to go to our brushes panel. If you don't see your brushes panel, go up to window and brushes. All right, so with this selected, we're going to click and drag this over here, and we want to change this to a pattern brush and hit OK. And it'll bring up the pattern brush option. So I'm just going to type in AB to stand for Astrobrite. And for now, I'm going to leave the scaling at 100%. And since we added in that little bit of spacing already, I'm going to leave the spacing to 0. And the rest of these parameters will be shown just like this. And we'll just hit OK. All right, so now we can just move this over here temporarily. And now we'll hit L on our keyboard to activate our ellipse tool. And I'm going to hold down Option or Alt and Shift and click and drag out. And now we can go over here to our brushes panel and click on our Astrobrite. All right, it's a little bit large, so let's go double click on our brush, and this will bring up our pattern brush options again. And I'm just gonna bring the scaling down to about 25%, and that looks good. We'll hit OK. And when it asks you this question right here, you wanna click on Apply to Strokes. All right, so now we have Astrobrite in this circular pattern here. It's looking really cool. Now we're gonna go up here to Effect, Distort and Transform, and Transform. And what we wanna do is scale it down, rotate it, and then enter a certain amount of copies. So I'm just going to start off by scaling it down to about 85%. We'll just kind of see how that looks. And I'm going to do the copies first. And now let's go back up here to scale and adjust this to about 90. And our copies right here are 30. And I think that looks pretty cool. And this last art is purely optional. But if you want to do an angle rotation, you can do something like this, where it just kind of creates like this swirling vortex here. And now with everything still selected, let's go up here to Object and Expand Appearance. And now this is no longer editable as a brush. So just keep that in mind. Once you expand the appearance, it's no longer editable, although you can go back and undo it if you want to. All right, so now I'm gonna go up here to Object and ungroup everything. And you can see that each circle here is now its own layer. So I'm gonna select every other one of these, and we'll just give it a really cool color. And this is gonna be on a black background, so maybe we'll do something like purple. And now let's go up here to Select and Inverse. And that's going to select everything else on our artboard. That includes this over here, so we'll hold down Shift and draw over this. And now we can color everything else. So I'll just do like purple and blue there. All right, so I'm just going to select all of this, move it over here. And I'm going to create some sparkles that we're going to apply later in Photoshop, but I'll just go ahead and make them now. So I'm going to go to my rectangle tool, hold down Shift, and draw a perfect square there. We're going to rotate this 45 degrees. And now we're going to go up here to Effect, Distort and Transform, and Pucker and Bloat. And we're going to go in the negative direction, so down here to about -40, that looks good. We've got a really cool sparkle right here. And now let's go up here to Object and Expand Appearance. And we'll come back to this a little bit later. All right, so now I'm going to select all of our text here, and I'm going to hit Copy. And the size of my document here is 12.5 by 12.5 at 300 resolution. And now we're going to hit Paste, and we're going to paste as a smart object and hit OK. I'm going to scale this down to probably about right there. We can always adjust it later if we need to. And I'm going to make a copy of this right here because we're going to add a spin blur to this. And I'm going to add a solid color background here. I'm going to make it black, hit OK. And I'll probably go in here in a little bit and add a starry background. All right, so with this bottom layer selected, let's go up here to Filter, Blur Gallery, and Spin Blur. And we're going to adjust our radius here. I'm going to go a little bit outside of what this top layer is, and we'll bring up our blur angle all the way to 360 degrees and hit OK. All right, so we'll zoom in and take a look at this cool blur effect that we've got back here. All right, and now we're going to select both of these together and hit Command E on our keyboard. Now this is very important. This is going to take both of these layers, merge them together, and they are no longer vector smart objects. So these are now raster objects, and they can lose clarity if we enlarge them. All right, let's zoom back out. We're going to go up here to Edit, transform, and distort. And I'm going to go up here and grab this top right corner and just kind of bend it down this way. As this goes further back, this is going to come further forward right here. And now let's select everything on this layer and center up everything on our canvas. And now I want to add in a really cool star field background here. So I'm here on Unsplash. This is my favorite website for free stock photos. I'm just going to type in star field. And I like this one right here, so we'll right click and click on copy image. We're going to click on the color fill layer because we need to paste above that. I'm going to center this up here and we'll just enlarge this all the way. All right, so this is looking really cool, although it is a little bit too bright. So we're going to go to our layers panel and click on add a new adjustment layer. Now let's go up here to levels. I'm going to bring the dark levels up. I'm going to click here on the left side and bring up these dark levels. That's already looking a lot better. We'll kind of bring up these midtones just a little bit and just kind of play around with it until you're happy with the result. All right, now we're going to go back to Illustrator and pick up this little sparkle here. So we're going to hit copy and paste in Photoshop as a smart object. And now I'm going to scale this down and we'll hit enter. And we need to create some properties here. So let's double click on this. Go to color overlay, and we're going to make this white. We're going to click on outer glow, and we'll add a little bit of noise to it, maybe 25%. And now we're going to go to filter, blur, and Gaussian blur, and just kind of soften up those edges a little bit. 2 pixels looks good to me. And this is a little bit on the larger side, so let's just kind of scale this down. All right, now I'm going to hit Command J on my keyboard, and that's going to duplicate that sparkle. And now we're going to click on this little eye to hide the top layer. And now we're going to grab both layers here and hit Command E. And just like we did earlier, that's going to change that sparkle to a raster layer. So we can no longer go in here and edit these effects. And now we're just going to change our blending mode on this to dissolve. And this is going to give us kind of an 8-bit effect going on here. So now I'm just going to make some copies of this by holding down Option or Alt and just clicking and dragging. And then I'll just kind of resize some of these. Just want to make them a little bit more random. Some of them I'll do like a rotation like this. I'm not going to do a bunch of these, just a few. And the further back they are, the smaller they should be. Okay, I like the placement of the 3 of those, but I'm going to go ahead and rotate this one since the other 2 are rotated as well. And I may go in and move this one to maybe around here, so kind of create like a triangle. All right, and since we've got that cool 8-bit effect from these stars, why don't we just make the entire thing 8-bit? So let's go up here to Image, Mode, and Index Color. And it's going to ask us if we want to flatten our layers. So we just hit OK. And we're going to change the colors to 8. And just hit OK there. All right, so here it is at 100%. Let's zoom in, and you can see those really cool pixel distortions going on there. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.